Okay, we're just unmuting, so giving people a bit of a warning, and we're live streaming. So we're back on. Welcome back, anyone that's been waiting. Sorry for the delay. 10.1 is Outram Flood Bank Stability Assessment Outcomes. Over to the team.
Okay, so this paper is from Flood Bank Stability Assessment. I'm brief and awesome. The purpose of this paper is to inform Council of the outcome of the stability assessment undertaken on the flood bank adjacent to Outram. The assessment was undertaken due to concerns of the stability of the bank. These concerns were primarily from work undertaken by TNT. The risk assessment in 2023 observed seepage and ponding on the landward side of the flood bank during flood events, most notably 2017 event. The age of the bank itself and of course proximity to Outram Township and the rest of that pose. Key findings of the report and investigation: the flood bank is stable under expected flood conditions and non-flood conditions. It's likely to remain stable under moderate seismic loads, earthquake loads, may become unstable under significant earthquake loads. Seepage through the flood bank itself is relatively unlikely in a design flood event. And with all that, staff recommendation that we do not undertake further physical works on the bank, which means we don't have to do any work and we'll have some money.
Awesome simple summary of the paper there, thank you. Questions then? We'll start with Councillor Wilson and Councillor Mekong.
Delighted with this and 10.2, and I'm happy to move both at due course, but paragraphs 41 and 42 and 23 of the other paper, you reference the liaison group, and just it doesn't mention what their thoughts were on this, but I just want to check that they were supportive of these papers.
Broad agreement.
Yeah, broad agreement. Thank you, and I think it's important to note for what the response was. So that's we're happy with this, the outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Councillor.
Oh, that was my question.
Oh, nice one. Councillor Noon and then Somerville.
I can't remember, but somewhere maybe in the consultant's report or whatever, there was some talk about dealing with the stormwater on the Outram side of the flood bank to alleviate surface flooding, etc. So the question is whose responsibility to ensure that that happens, providing the flood water is on public land. And then the second question would be around if it's on private land.
So stormwater is the responsibility of the TA, so DCC in this case.
Yeah.
Private land, your responsibility is to manage your own stormwater.
So if and I know the recommendation isn't to do any work, but if there was stormwater enhancements in some way, shape or form, would that be instigated by us potentially and implemented by the DCC?
We'll certainly share the findings of this report with DCC and follow up with them. What comes out of that, I couldn't be too sure, but if there's further conversations for us to have with them about infrastructure changes, be happy to entertain them and bring back to the table if necessary.
Thank you.
Somerville.
Thank you. That might start working soon. I'm just looking at paragraphs 27 and 28 about the risks around less frequent and larger earthquakes, and I understand that there will always be some sort of risk here and there. Could you just talk us through that, about that sort of risk analysis around those, and in particular whether that analysis indicates risk to life, where we are with risk to life in the possible event of a flood bank failure because of earthquake?
We can start. You can start if you like.
So with this particular report, it assesses the flood bank stability. The types of earthquakes that we're talking about are likely to have much broader implications for the township, and for the wider tidy plain. What we're also suggesting through this paper is that the risk to the flood bank at Outram under seismic load is no greater or dissimilar to the rest of the flood bank in the area. The other thing that we need to consider is that very unlikely event would also need to coincide with some sort of flood event to result in something nasty happening. So the risk is quite low, and we've assessed it on that basis.
Yeah, no, look, that's good, and that's sort of the answer I was expecting, but just wish to get that confirmed. No, that's all good. Thank you.
No further questions. Councillor Wilson, we wanted to know.
Very happy to move.
Yeah. Someone wants second. Councillor Sunville would like to speak.
And I just thank the staff for the work that I think has been wanted and encouraged, and has been well received by the liaison group and probably by the community. And I look forward to it being highlighted in our ongoing work when we work with communities.
Thanks, Councillor Sunville.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, as we know, this is part of that larger Tari Flood Protection Scheme risk assessment, and this is that more detailed bit delving into where risks have been identified. And very good news that this has turned out to be a less serious risk that the initial one had indicated. So good news all round with this. Thank you for your work.
No further comments by the looks of it. Put it then, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thanks very much. That one is done. We're on to the next one, which is also the Lower Taieri, and this one is about budget revisions. A similarly awesome summary of the paper would be great.
I'll do my best. So Lower Taieri protection budget revision paper. This paper outlines proposed budget revisions for two projects in the Lower Taieri. The first one being the Outram Flood Bank stability improvements, which was covered in the previous paper, and the second project being the silver stream capacity maintenance. As discussed in the previous paper, we don't need to undertake any immediate work on the flood bank at Outram. They had a budget in the long-term plan of $5.5 million, which we don't want to need to spend. However, the silver stream capacity improvement project is forecast to have a reasonably significant overspend. Its original budget in the long-term plan was $829,000. Our current forecast for that is in the region of $1.92 million. The increase around the silver stream is largely due to far greater volumes of material required to be removed than we originally anticipated, coupled with some increase in construction costs since the budgets were put together, leaving us with a change in budget requirements. Questions?
Probably the same question, isn't it, Kate?
No, I'll ask that question. I'll ask one. Just in discussion just with one farmer, was just understanding the difference between sediment and gravel and what you're taking out, and whether you're taking it out to the centre. I mean, capacity is, I suppose, capacity, and it doesn't matter. Maybe, I don't know. I don't understand the shape of and the effects on a flood area, but sorry, the shape of the river bed and how it responds to a flood. But he was under the impression that it was going to be mainly sediment that you moved rather than gravel from the middle. And I was just wondering and understanding why and what's driving that. And the other part of that question is reuse of the gravel.
So that's correct. The material is largely sediment. It's got some gravel mixed through it, but mostly relatively fine sediment. So we are treating the berms rather than the channel of the stream itself. mechanism where the material is deposited. If we have a flood come through, the berms are grassed, they tend to trap the fine material, and the berms quietly over a period of time and successive flood events tends to build up. That's where the majority of the material comes from.
I hate to go and talk about exacerbators as well as benefits, but this is a good way. Where would that sediment be likely to be coming from?
Range of sources in the catchment above.
Thank you.
That's quite a massive catchment when you look at it, yeah. Good one. Someone else had their hand up, Councillor McCollum.
Oh, you think, so it's all pretty much a good news one, so we're gonna divert some funding from the reduced work on the Outram flood bank and divert it to Silver Stream, so I just want to confirm that it's gonna. So most of the funding is going to go into the current year's work program to increase the current year's work program on the Silver Stream with a bit lagged over into the next year. So are we talking like the Silver Stream would get to like 75%, or what percent of the Silver Stream do you think would be will have their capacity maintained or back to normal capacity in this current financial year? And how much will go to the next year? I've seen that the budgeting is 1.17662.
So our plan for this financial year is to get us as far up as Rickland Road from the confluence. And the intention would be for the following financial year to bring us up to Gordon Road.
And that's as far as you go.
That's the required scope at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you. So that's some good news.
No further questions by the looks of it. Somebody want to move?
Yeah.
Councillor Summerwell, seconded. Councillor Wilson, you'd like to, oh, sorry, yeah. There's lots of people wanting to move, but that's great. Councillor Summerwell, you get to speak first.
Right, well, I might go at length, but we know this is good news and this does tie in with the previous paper. It's important that work for Silver Stream is being done. And since we discovered that was going to cost more than the original estimate, it is a bit of a windfall that the money has been available from the work not required on the Outram flood bank, and there will be, as we've seen in here too, through the next future years of the long-term plan, there'll be some financial benefits there. So very good that this work on Silver Stream is able to be done and funded in this way. Thank you to those involved.
Councillor Wilson, did you want to speak? No. Councillor McCall, do you?
Oh,
You look like you did.
I think it's also, I think restoring the capacity of the Silver Stream is something that's very high on the public's persona right now, and putting and showing a strong commitment that we're actually serious about restoring the capacity, and that stream will be taken, that will be received very well by the community at large, and it'll probably helps to mitigate one of our largest risks in the Kaieri area. So I think it's good all round. So let's well, I can't say that. Let's get on with the job.
Thanks. Okay, we'll put it then. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. We're on to liaison groups, 10.3. This one's probably quite self-explanatory, but yeah, you're welcome to introduce it once again, Brett.
Thank you. I've got Kirsten Tibbett online as well, joining us this paper. Liaison group establishment. So this paper seeks to endorse the commencement and establishment of process for the Lower Twitter and Road liaison groups. So this comes from a decision from council for the long-term plan to establish liaison groups within Clutha, Toko and the Tori. The Lautari liaison group has been established last calendar year, and now we're seeking to get Clutha and Toko set up. Paper recommends council endorse the terms of reference for both these groups, which are attached to the paper. Timeframe for establishing the groups, we're intending to have the Lower Clutha group set up in November this year, with Tokomaruo in the first half of 2026. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Sunville and Cole.
Thank you. No, thank you very much. Look, I just wondered whether the experiences we've had with the recently set up Lower Kyrie liaison group, whether our experience from that has affected how this proposal has been put together. You know, what did we learn useful things that we've taken into account?
Yeah, we did. There's a few things that we'll modify as we go through the process, largely operational things, voting processes, all of that sort of thing. But on the whole, the process in terms of setting up the Lower Taieri liaison group was relatively painless. And we'd look to do something pretty similar.
Thanks.
Councillor McCall, then Wilson.
Yeah, I was just looking to get some wee bit of clarification in the terms of reference, just around the one was around the voting, but the other one was around taking nominations on the day, and whether it was intended to have nominations received prior to the meeting so everybody knew, or just taking the nominations on the day. What do you read that clearly?
Yeah, so as per the Taieri set-up process, we'd seek nominations prior to the day, so that people knew what they were coming to and who was available to vote for at the prior to the meeting. That would be the intent. I think it just makes for a cleaner process.
Another thing I was just wondering was also, and I think I'm quite happy the way it is, but we need well, it's in the I'm still on these the reference terms of reference, but dissolve that there may be regular introduction of new members to ensure new ideas. Do we need to have the membership maybe based on a rotation system rather than just have it quite pretty open that we want people to come and go, but without having any structure?
So the terms of reference talk to it was 2-year terms. Kirsten will correct me if I'm wrong. Which enable other people to put their hand up, but we obviously want to strike the balance between people who are interested and make themselves available. And if that that is the same people over and over again, then so be it. But at the same time, fresh ideas and thinking is always going to be welcome. I think by the wider group, I just reflect on the we've got some members within the Taieri liaison group who have been on previous groups and are established and understand how that process should and could work, and their experience has been really valuable. There's been a couple of newer faces as well that obviously bring that kind of fresher attitude too. I'd expect we'll end up with something similar.
Could I just leap in? Sorry, Tom, you said I could correct. The final clause of the terms of reference is that it's a 3-year term for members.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Kirsten.
Happy to move when the time's.
Oh, okay. Yep. Councillor Wilson, then Weir.
Really at second was when the time's right, but the question I have is, and it's just in hindsight, and as we look at where the government may go with catchment groups, is whether we should be considering a representative potentially of catchment groups, which won't necessarily be members of those, but can give us that holistic. I mean, especially if they're involved in farm planning and things, there may be a benefit in making an opportunity available in terms of reference. It doesn't have to be filled, but it may be one that, and that also reflects what steps the council may be doing, even on tree planting and things like that, on with concerns about willows around the catchment and spread. So there could be some benefits both ways in those conversations. That's a nod.
Yep, good one. That is a nodding. Councillor Weir.
I was just wondering if there was any, aside from the key infrastructure owners or lifeline utilities that says may seek representation, if there's any opportunity for anyone else who might be directly affected by the scheme in the area, might be living or renting, but not necessarily a scheme ratepayer. If there's any opportunities for input from anyone like that.
Yes, so that's something to come up with the tidy setup. And we've included so seats are available for people to represent different areas. But they don't necessarily need to be property owners.
Oh, okay, so it doesn't, they don't have to come from the scheme of ratepayers, correct? Oh, okay, cool.
No other questions, we've got them over in a second, hopefully those are recorded, yep, thanks, so Councillor McCall, over to you. So it's probably that test we get at this time every time, or just. No, okay, maybe not then. Sorry, yeah, we're just trying to get a motor, I'm taking the council thoughts on my,